everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and this is a video that I've been wanting to put together for a long time now because it is one of the most searched topics in the motorcycle world. Should I get the classic everyman's beginner bike slash really great intermediate bike as well, the Ninja 650? Should I get the 4-cylinder 650 option, the Honda CBR650 R? Or should I step up to the big boy, the Ninja ZX6R? Today we're going to answer that question in what I have aimed for as the most real-world sort of situation possible, aside from track riding. Obviously, if you're here and you're a track rider, it's not even a question. Go get yourself a ZX6R, or if you want to go a little more small bore, Kawasaki is going to give you the Ninja ZX4R now. That's not really a question. But what I want to answer is, if you're a one-bike household, what sort of motorcycle should you have to both look cool, be comfortable, and have fun? So in today's test, we're going to head out here from Newport Beach. We're going to go down PCH, up into Ortega Highway, down into Fallbrook, down to the coast again, up the 5, into Santiago Canyon, and wrap up so that each of these bikes gets an experience of city riding and kind of more boring, scenic straight roads, and then more fun, exciting, twisty roads as well. So let's start off with a little bit of a spec comparison, just so you all know what we're dealing with here. The Ninja 650. If you don't know about this bike and you're in the motorcycling world, then you're missing out. It's been in this configuration since, I believe, the 2020 model year, but really the Ninja 650 itself hasn't changed dramatically for over 10 years. It is a straightforward concept of sport bike styling, but comfy standard bike, nearly standard bike sort of ergonomics. You've got 67 horsepower and 47 pound-feet of torque coming out of a 649cc parallel twin motor, which makes this one unique in this trifecta. However, what's also unique is where you get that power. It makes peak torque at 6,700 RPM and peak horsepower at only 8,000 RPM. It only weighs 423 pounds, equipped with ABS. You've got a 4-gallon fuel tank. You get optional ABS, traction control, and adjustable levers. Other than that, not much when it comes to features or functionality. And you're looking at about $9,300 for this one. You can save a little bit of money by opting out of ABS, but I would recommend ABS for all riders. That's an entirely different topic, however. Then moving up, we've got Honda's CBR650 R. Now this does see an entire refresh for the 2024 model year, featuring the e-clutch technology, which is going to be really cool to talk about. You can essentially ride this motorcycle without ever using the clutch lever. But what Honda did really cool is that you can also totally use the clutch lever and ride it like a normal manual bike as well. However, that does give us a little bit of extra weight. You're looking at 465 pounds for this one, but you've got an inline 4 engine, so you're going to get a little bit of that higher power figure, as well as kind of having to work for the power a little bit more, getting a much different sound. You're looking at 94 horsepower at 12,000 RPM. Again, actually the same torque figure as the Ninja 650, 47 pound-feet, but you got to wait until 9,500 RPM to get there. And then you also get a little bit more feature set, but not much. You still just have traction control, ABS, configurable TFT display. It's just that e-clutch where the technology really starts to stand out. As for ergonomics, the Ninja 650 is going to be the most comfortable, lowest seat, highest handlebars. The CBR650R a little bit more in the middle, and you're paying $10,500 for this e-clutch ABS model. And then we make it all the way up to the ZX6R. This one is also sporting an inline 4 motor, but it's actually the smallest of these three, believe it or not. 636cc, but it's made much more stout, much more race ready, and gives you a much higher redline. 122 horsepower at 13,000 RPM, and interestingly, only 5 extra pound-feet of torque over the other two, all the way up at 11,500 RPM. So we're going to really feel that difference in the real world when we're out riding these things. 434 pounds for this model, although actually this is the non-ABS version, and this one is a little bit lighter, I think about 431 if I'm not mistaken, but if you get ABS like the other two, you're more at 434, so actually a little bit heavier than the Ninja 650, but still quite a bit lighter than the CBR. You're going to have the most aggressive ergonomics, the thinnest seat, and a lot more feature set. You're getting a one-directional quick shifter. You can quick shift up. You've got fully adjustable suspension. You've got rider modes, and you're paying $12,699 for an ABS model after destination, or actually save $1,000 if you're going to be doing more track only and you want to go non-ABS. So we've got all three bikes here, one of which, the ZX6R, actually courtesy of my buddy Anish. Anish and Dax sitting over here. This is going to be not only a comparison video, but also a total guy's ride. It's a beautiful Sunday here in Southern California. We're going to go experience the best of the riding roads and sort of vistas that SoCal has to offer us. And we could not do this sort of video or have this sort of fun day ride without the help of Cardo. All of us are wearing Cardo headsets right now. We were able to make a group, show up together, pair all the headsets up, and right now they're listening to me say this whole intro right now because I've still got my Cardo headset running. These guys were actually running headsets from another brand, which will remain unnamed, but we got them over to the light side. They're running Cardos, and what's cool is not only do we have the communication aspect, so it's super easy and super clear to talk to each other with these Pack Talk edges that we have. I was able to get a 2-pack set of Pack Talk edges actually, but on top of that, we're able to share music together. So one person, the group admin, can kind of start playing music. We can all listen to the same song, cruising down PCH, but also, perfect example here, we were riding down the road and I thought I knew how to get to this parking lot where I wanted to start the video, but actually I didn't. So I was actually able to use the Cardo headset to just say, okay, G-O-O-G-L-E, and the Cardo recognized that and started my phone's assistant so that I was able to then say navigate to blank destination, and I was able to totally continue riding, not have to take my phone out or anything, and get our navigation running. Cardo has a lot of different built-in voice recognition features like that, like you can say volume up, volume down, start, stop music, etc., make phone calls, all without ever having to kind of use your device. So I highly recommend Cardo headsets. If you're going to do any sort of riding with your buddies, make sure you pick some up. I've also been using Cardos with my wife Alyssa on the back of my motorcycle for many years, and that's allowed us to have a totally different sort of riding experience as well. So check the link below to pick up yourself a Cardo headset. But without any further ado, I think it's time to get riding. You boys ready? Let's do it. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to start on the Ninja 650. Dax is going to start on the CBR650 R, and Anish is going to start on the ZX-6R. And then I'm going to move to the ZX-6R, and then we'll talk about the CBR650 R for the last section of the ride. Guys ready? All right. Interestingly enough, the CBR650 R does not have an adjustable brake lever, so that is a functionality that the Ninja 650 has above this one. It's kind of cool. And I'm also going to be curious to get the guys' thoughts, not only on the other two bikes as we're stopped and we sort of wrap things up at the end of the day, but the new e-clutch system as well. So remember, you can totally ride it like a normal bike, shift around, but if you feel like starting to get curious, then just don't use the clutch and shift. Let's start off with some starts. Let's do the CBR650R first. Yep, go ahead. Okay. The other weird thing that if those of you who are familiar with motorcycles might learn, is for some reason Honda insists on being different with their controls. So on the two Kawasaki's, the blinker switch is on top and the horn is down below, but on the Honda, it's the opposite. So
I was wrong. I was like so funky.
Dude, it's so funky. Dax came off a CBR before, a CBR300, so if you guys get on this bike and accidentally honk your horn, I won't blame you. So give us just a light rev, just a little blip. Okay, yeah, I got that inline 4 sound. And then we'll start up the parallel twin. You can hear a lot different, a little more lopey sounding, but it does have a bit of grunt. Yeah, very different. And then, not only is this a ZX6R, but we are featuring an M4 exhaust on here, so you're going to hear it throughout today. Ooh, yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're ready to ride. Okay, so getting on the Ninja 650, it's a very narrow bike. You really notice that. It's just such a svelte feeling. The handlebars are close together, the tank is small, easy to grab controls. Now, despite making the lowest horsepower figures, the Ninja 650 makes that power real down low. It's a real grunty sort of push, shove kind of power. So really, technically speaking, I'm about just over halfway through the rev range right now, but I've got power all the way through. Now, if you're used to inline 4s, you're gonna find yourself bouncing off the rev limiter on this bike pretty regularly because it sounds like you should be able to keep revving it out, but you really can't. But it's kind of a cool grunty sound, even with the stock exhaust. I'm 5'10" with a 32-inch inseam, and I could stand up on this bike and have a few inches left. Foot pegs are low, seats low. Looking over at Dax on the CBR650 R, he's got a little bit more of a moderate leg bend, and then if he's down on the handlebars, he's got to reach a little further, but he can kind of sit up. This has a slipper and assist clutch, so very easy to pull in the clutch lever. Same with the brake, and they're both adjustable. So if you've got smaller hands, you can bring them a little closer. If you've got big gloves on or something, big mitts, you can move them away. That slipper and assist clutch makes it so easy to not stall this bike. Kawasaki makes some of the most approachable motorcycles when it comes to just newer riders, people not being as familiar with them. And I've spent time on the Ninja 500, the Z500, the Eliminator 500, the Ninja 650. I don't think I've ever stalled any of them, which is kind of crazy going from bike to bike to bike. They've just got such a forgiving clutch and torquey motors, so I could probably roll away from this, not even give acceleration at first, and I don't think it would stall. TFT display down below us. We're seeing our speed and our gear, nice and easy. This gear selection is definitely nice to have as a beginner rider. Just knowing what gear you're in, helping you navigate. One less thing you got to think about. Nice squishy seat, very easy to just kind of move the bike back and forth below you. The other thing that Kawasaki's have that some people don't know about is what they call a positive neutral switch. So if I'm in first right here and I'm at a stop, if I crank up on the shifter, it doesn't matter how hard I pull, the bike is going into neutral. It won't go into second gear. That makes it nice for if you're coming into your garage or coming up to a stop like this. Just a lot easier than kind of having to baby the shifter to get it up into neutral. Most of these bikes with the TFT displays, you can change them from a dark mode to a light mode. So you can see if you prefer this, maybe ride in a lot of bright situations, you find that easier to see, do that. I prefer the look of the dark mode screen. And this one has adjustable traction control mode. So we're in KTRC1, we can hit select, bring it down into 2. This might be a little bit more akin to a rain mode. Then we could also turn it off if you want to be able to slide it around or do wheelies. This is the portion of the ride that the Ninja is going to do the best at, the 650, because I've got a nice upright seating position. My hands are sort of draped down onto the bars. I'm sitting up. I'm seeing the traffic around me. Very easy to turn, look around. I've got a good visual on everybody. And the stopping and the starting and the kind of just slower speeds, I can be a little bit more casual and comfortable on the bike. The other benefit of the Ninja 650 in these sort of riding situations is I can kind of be at a lower RPM, and then if I do need to lean on it, that torque is so much more accessible. It's right there for me. I don't have to make sure I'm in the right gear. Right now, Dax and Niche are probably toying around with third gear or so just to make sure that they've got the ability to get out from traffic situations if they need to. I'm in fourth, and even at 3,000 RPM, I've got that twist when I need it. And obviously I can drop into third, no big deal. And for those of you unfamiliar with Pacific Coast Highway, we're just getting out of Corona Del Mar, Newport Beach here. The speed limit picks up. We're gonna open up to a nice view of the Pacific Coast. And the guys and I are gonna enjoy some of it. There it is, riding on late November, not bad. All right, we're gonna continue down the coast and catch up back with you in the twisties here on the Ninja 650. All right, up here in the twisties now, getting these sport bikes out to do proper sport biking activities. And the Ninja 650 is not a perfect bike for any sort of riding situation, but it can hang. So we've got Anish behind me on the ZX6R, Dax behind him on the CBR650R, and I'm going to try to keep out of their way here a little bit. But the cool thing is we've been on the bikes for, I think, about an hour, maybe a little over an hour now, and I'm still comfortable, my butt is good, and I'm ready to do a little twisty riding. Now, on the higher speed sections, it isn't quite as comfortable to be down into a tuck on the Ninja 650 as the other two bikes. Your kind of arms are awkwardly up like a little bit of a Tyrannosaurus Rex or something. But you could still move the bike around with your hips without necessarily tuck and roll down low. So the lower speed cornering, definitely still accelerating with less weight than the other bikes, so that helps. You got all that power right usable. Foot pegs are still plenty high enough where scraping should not be an issue. Brakes, very good. Plenty good. Yep. And again, it's taking that carefree mentality here, even onto these tight, twisty roads. It's approachable, it's friendly, it's the golden retriever of sport bikes. And again, if you're a little bit of a newer rider and you're focusing more on, okay, you know, making it through the corners, concentrating on those sort of things, and you find yourself coming out to a straightaway and you might be in third or fourth gear, you're not right up in the power band, it's okay on the Ninja 650 because I can kind of come through cautiously through the corner and then lean on it, and I got that torque working for me, pull me through. Not to mention, I mean, I know a lot of people like to dog on the 180-degree parallel twin, but it still sounds cool. I mean, it's a fun, grunty little sound. Yeah, maybe it doesn't quite have the character of the 270-degree crank from the Yamaha or of obviously the inline 4 bikes, but I actually don't mind the sound of the parallel twin, even in 180-degree form like this. And let's be honest, when you go out for a Sunday ride like this, this is typically what ends up happening, is you get out on a beautiful road like this, great twists and turns, and then you get caught behind pedestrians. So even if I were on the ZX6R back there and I were able to do maybe 20-25% faster through these twisties, I'd still be stuck doing the same speeds here behind this Tesla. I do have to say though, that all-black ZX6R looks mean in the rearview mirror. Love seeing that, and I can hear it with that exhaust echoing off these walls. It's cool. Third gear is really usable on the 650. Not finding myself coming up toward red line too bad. And then even though I am getting down toward 6,000 RPM or so, being able to lean on it right here, just do a quick shift up and forward. Very approachable powertrain. And again, realistically, if you're somebody who isn't going to be taking your bike to the racetrack, and this is your idea of kind of a fun, spirited ride, it's great. So comfortable, so usable. And then when you do end up getting stuck behind a bunch of traffic, then you don't feel like you're wasting the bike as much. But admittedly, when you get up to these open sections and you're doing a little bit of uphill, like right here, I mean, yes, I'm accelerating, but it's not like I'm exactly thrilled by it. I mean, it's not yanking me back. It's not like I got to keep my hands firmly on the handlebars. That is where the ZX6R comes in. Okay, time to step it up. Going from Ninja 650 up to ZX6R. This thing looks mean the way he's got it done, but still a 2024 model. Climbing onto the bike. Roll it forward. Yeah, especially in this parking lot, I feel like I'm falling onto the handlebars. But it feels cool. It feels engaged. And the foot pegs are way, way up there. Oh, but yeah, you feel one with the bike. It really does tuck you in, cockpit style. One thing that people don't really think of with this super sport bikes is the kickstand is a little less forgiving, so you got to be careful where you place it. You don't want to drop it over. But bringing it to life, we see essentially the same gauge cluster as on the Ninja 650, just with the ride mode on there. And we bring it to life. A lot less fuel in here too. Wonder why that is. Ooh, that feels good. Yeah, this one's been averaging 33 miles per gallon, whereas the 650 was averaging about 55. Oh, that feels so good. Oh, and the clutch grabs immediately. There's something about having an engine that's just so much character, so much responsiveness. Yeah, you are perched on top of the ZX6R. You feel the whole bike below you. Whereas on the 650, you're feeling, you're like you're one with the bike. You're kind of sitting in it. The way the tank and the handlebars are set up on the ZX6R, you're kind of supposed to lean down, you put your butt back, bring your knees tight into the tank, and it tucks you in like this. So when you're going faster on the track, you can really get around corners. When you're sort of sitting up and riding like this, you got a lot of weight down on your wrists, and you got to sort of engage your core and your legs to kind of hold you up. Oh yeah, and you feel those bumps, but again, it's a nice direct feeling. And still plenty of power, even in 6th gear, to lean onto it and accelerate. It's not like, just because this doesn't make peak power up until 12, 13,000 RPM, it's not like you don't have power down lower where you need it. So there's not too much more to say about the ZX6R cruising down a straight 45-mile-per-hour road, other than I'm ready to get it in the power band. So let's get to the twisties. All right, out here on the twisties. And again, this motor, I mean, oh, it is a treat. For those of people, or a lot of those people in the know, you kind of know the ZX6R is just this gem that is almost a steal that Kawasaki doesn't charge more for it. That you could get onto such a fantastically character-filled powertrain for really not that much money at all. But the question we're asking here today is, do you want that? And this bike is so much more to learn and to get comfortable with and to work up to. I mean, this is a serious piece of machinery. And coming off the last two bikes, I'm just feeling how much, first of all, the road is bouncing me around, but also I feel like I'm really having to muscle the bike around the corners more so than the other two bikes, where I could kind of just shift my weight around and move the bike how I wanted it to. But what that means is that there's so much more reward in it. And I know that if I owned this bike, then you know, the longer I had it, the more comfortable I'd get, and the more I'd learn its intricacies. And then any chance you get to get it up near that red line, oh, it's just fantastic. I know it's a little unfair to necessarily compare these bikes stock to stock because this one's got an exhaust on it. But I mean, just knowing what you can make this engine sound like is great. And then once you get comfortable with that seating position and you start asserting yourself over the bike, you start moving as one with it. Oh, and that is something that neither of the two other bikes could do right there, is make a sensation like that. You also have a quick shifter for upshifting, and it works so smooth. I'm really impressed. Yeah, brakes bring this thing right back down. Admittedly, I kind of chose the wrong section to be on the ZX6R, because this is some of these tight and twisties are a little more rural, and the roads are a little rougher. The sun's getting a little low in the sky, there's shadows. So I'm not necessarily getting the big open sweepers like I did on the last section through Ortega on the Ninja 650. But still, getting to listen to this engine is such a treat. But this is such a beautiful section of road here. I'm gonna catch up with the guys. We're gonna enjoy this with our cardos and then get some food. We are hungry. Fun fact, with the CBR650 R and the Ninja 650, you only need 87 octane fuel. So if you're planning on riding daily, might want to remember that. Also, that one was on fumes. These ones both had about 80 miles or so left on the tanks. But I think he filled up, no, actually they were all about the same, So a little bit of a pivot today because we got going a lot later than expected. So we are going to cut the route a tad bit short, but it is still time to get on the CBR650R. I will admit that after probably about 3 hours of riding total, half on the Ninja 650, half on the ZX6R, I was a bit ready to take a break. My legs are sore on that one. This bike is incredible when it comes to getting it up over 10,000 RPM. But the CBR650R should promise a little bit of a happy medium between the couch sort of riding position and feel and ease of the Ninja 650 and the board that is the ZX6R. Now, if you do want to see a dedicated review on any of these bikes, really, check the link below. But I'm not going to go too in-depth about how the e-clutch system works on the CBR650R for this video. Maybe just a little bit to how it compares between the other two bikes. So we'll talk about that more in the full review. Bite position, very, very different on this bike compared to the other two. But if you get it up into neutral and then engage the e-clutch, that doesn't matter. Okay, so I've got weight on my wrists, but not heavy. Let's see if we can get by these trucks right here. So I've got a little weight on my wrists, but not bad. Still got a little more squish in the seat. Still more engaged than I was in the Ninja 650. And then just not quite the same degree of punch that the Ninja 650 has. Both Kawasaki's have enough grunt to kind of get through town at pretty much any RPM. The Honda, you do a little bit more want to be up in the higher part of the rev range right here. It is until you get to about 7 grand or so that it really comes online. But more of a flickable feel. Even though this one is 40 pounds heavier than the Ninja 650, it still is happier to roll around than the ZX6R. We're gonna make sure this Ford sees us, okay. That is something I really like about the Ninja 650, is that it's so easy to just rock your hips around and have the bike rotate with you. The ZX6R, you feel like you gotta wrestle it down into the corners more so. This one, again, somewhere in between. The other thing is with the stock exhaust, the CBR650R is really quite docile sounding. I mean, even come down into second, it sounds cool, but you're hearing a lot of drivetrain, not quite as much of that sort of punchy, throaty sound of the 650, and then obviously, you know, the ZX6R has a custom pipe, so that's a little unfair. You get more of the feeling of being up over the front wheel on this bike. You can still kind of hug the tank, and very easy to push that left handlebar. Really, ride it through. And you get just enough of that crescendo. Ah! It still doesn't yank you back like the ZX6R does, but it does have the reward of waiting for the power and letting it build. Oh, brake's still plenty good. Not quite as commutative as the ZX6R. Yeah, very rewarding platform still. So, let's see if we can find a little scenic spot here and wrap up this comparison between 2 or 3 very similar bikes that also just have such different approaches to similar riding. Whew! Alright, this is the shot that I wanted to get before the end of the day. 3 different bikes that, to the untrained eye, would think, okay, they're all sport bikes, right? They're all crotch rockets. Couldn't be further from the truth. After hours and hours behind the saddle of all 3, unfortunately, part of the truth is just that it is kind of what you read. The Ninja 650 is the most comfortable, the ZX6R is the most capable, and the CBR kind of splits the difference. Where the nuances and the answer comes in is simply the type of riding you plan on doing. For me personally, the way I use a motorcycle and kind of like to ride daily, it would probably be the Ninja 650. It would be close, because I do know when I need to go somewhere and I'm going to be on the bike for less than an hour, there is a part of me that really likes to grab the keys to the CBR. It's just a little bit more exciting. The riding position's a little more engaged. You feel more purposeful. And getting to use the E-clutch around, kind of just around town riding, traffic, lane splitting, whatever it is, or sporty riding like this, it does have its advantages. And I think as Honda introduces that technology to more and more of their motorcycles, it's going to continue to be a game changer and more reason to go with Honda over any other brand. That being said, I like getting on the Kawasaki and just having the almost dirt bikey, supermoto-y kind of comfort and feel where I just sort of throw a leg on, my legs are real low and close, and I can just sort of yank it. It's got this really narrow tank, and I feel like there are less consequences if I do something wrong. The bike sort of got me, and I can sort of just ride all day and enjoy it and use the whole bike that I paid for, and paying a good bit less than the other two bikes. But if you do plan on doing sporty riding, if this is your weekend toy and you have a good means of transportation, or maybe you're someone who just doesn't really like to ride normal city streets and you just only use your bike for going out and doing twisties, the fact that you can pay and get this engine and drivetrain with a warranty from a showroom floor for less than $14,000 is just pretty darn cool. And it's kind of what motorcycling is about in sport bike riding. Now, I'd love to just tell you, okay, the CBR650R is sort of the best of both worlds, but the problem I have is that getting this one in the twisties, I feel like if I'm this close to a screaming inline 4-cylinder super sport bike, I would get sick of this too quickly. I would get tired and I would feel like I want more, knowing that something like this exists. At least if I'm on the Ninja 650, I'm like, okay, I'm on a parallel twin, the insurance is going to be cheap, it's fuel efficient, like it's just a cool, carefree sort of bike. The CBR is like, okay, I'm already got a little bit more of the aggressive riding posture, and it's screaming at me, but it's not giving me the thrill and the fear factor that the ZX6R is. So I would say if you're a new rider or kind of someone who just rides casually or rides regularly, the Ninja 650 to me is the best value play for just getting you on two wheels and having fun doing it. Then, if you're a serious sort of rider, ZX6R is just an unbeatable value for the type of performance and the type of experience you're getting. The CBR650R is the most impressive from a technological standpoint and really does try to do both of those things well, but then you kind of have to decide for yourself, okay, what type of rider am I going to be? And Honda even sells you more aggressive CBRs that you could get onto. So to me, having an inline 4-cylinder for the 650 class sounds cool, but at the end of the day, is kind of this awkward in-between. What do you guys think after riding both of the bikes? I know that you haven't necessarily gotten on the other two because we had to switch things up, but for the bikes you have ridden, what did you think, Dax?
I agreed with you. The Ninja, just sitting on it, just comfort-wise, it's completely different than the CBR. You know, the seating position, how you feel on it. You just, it's a cleaner, easier feel just to hop on for like a daily thing.
And was there anything? I mean, what did you think about the power? Did the Kawasaki feel slow after getting off the CBR, or
felt a little slow, but it wasn't like too noticeable where I was feeling like I was hurting. I definitely noticed I had less power, but I wasn't like so much where I was missing the power, which like changed something for me.
Got it. And what about you, Anish, going from what you're used to, your ZX6R, to the CBR?
I would say it's definitely more comfortable. You're sitting more upright, which is nice for if you're going on longer rides. I still haven't ridden the 650 yet, but I'm guessing that's going to be the most comfortable out of them all. And I think it's a happy medium between both of them. You get power, you get comfort. I think there's not much to complain about.
I do agree that the comfort level, even from the ZX to the CBR, is still a huge jump, because I've done about 2 hours in the saddle at once on the CBR, and I could still keep going, but I was like, all right, I'm starting to get a little sore. I was ready to get off the ZX6R after that kind of hour-ish, hour and a half sort of ride. Yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on any of the bikes, check the link below. We're going to definitely have full reviews and DM commuter reviews for these two bikes. I'm sure I'll try to convince Anish to give me some time with his bike to do a full review at some point, because it sure is something special. Thank you all to Dax and Nish for the laborious task of coming out and riding some of these fantastic roads. And we'll see you all in the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, ride on.